Hello, everyone. Welcome to Small Talk. Joining me, and not for the first time, Arthur Green. So welcome back.
Oh, thanks. I love being on your show here, and I love to talk about politics. I'm no longer with the Green Party, but I'm busy campaigning for our Liberal candidate here in Chilliwack, and I think we're going to be quite successful. So I'm really looking forward to the results. We've got tons of support, especially from my neck of the woods up there in Hope and the Fraser Canyon. Been busy knocking doors and getting great receptions, putting lots of signs on lawns and tagging mailboxes and getting pretty much all positive response. So we're really looking forward to election night and the results.
Well, let's backtrack just a little bit. When did you leave the Green Party?
Well, I actually organized the Green Party for this here federal election.
Okay.
They were a little bit on their rears, trying to get motivated or whatever. And I'm the kind of guy that believes if you want to get from A to B, the first thing you got to do is get off your A.
Yeah.
So I did manage to get them organized. I didn't think that they were going to find a candidate and I was going to do it myself.
Right.
But they did manage to find one. And then all this Trump stuff come up. And to be honest with you, it just scared the dickens out of me. And and I looked at this incredible new leader that the Liberals have come up with. I said, well, there's a guy that can lead us through this turmoil that we're going to go through for at least the next 4 years. I mean, the whole economic system of the world is going to change now.
Yeah.
And, our alternative, Mr. Poilievre, other than his slogans, hasn't come up with any solutions or any kind of scares me as well for his tones and the way he's so divisive in our Canadian society. So I've joined the Liberals and I've put 110% of my support behind our candidate, and we're going to go right to the end. We'll try to get every vote we can, and the next election will even be more organized. Our support that came out, even though we're a little bit late getting out of the gate, is incredible, and it's real fun to be around. I've never worked in an election before where we actually had a chance to win. So, it's, and not to say anything about bad about the Greens. I really love the Green Party. And, I wouldn't say that I would never go back to them or anything like that. But at this time in our history, I think it's time that we really have to unite the left. And I'm asking a lot of those Green voters to come and vote Liberal, and so that we can finally gain control. It's funny, the last time that the Liberals actually elected a candidate in Chilliwack Hope was Jerry Pringle. And that was way back when I was a little boy. And my mom was one of his campaigners, and she would drag me around everywhere because she didn't have a babysitter or whatever, right? Yeah. And we knocked on doors, and then they actually won that election. It was the last time the Liberals won here. So it's kind of ironic that I started there, and now I'm kind of finishing.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of interesting because I saw a recent poll I saw in a show here in Chilliwack that the Conservatives ahead, but I've worked on polls before, and I know it depends on the questions, who's asking the questions, how they're worded,
right?
Whatever. But I was talking to interview somebody yesterday. I was saying you never know until the votes are counted.
That's right. Yeah. We're right to the very end. I mean, before I was fighting just to get 10% of the vote, and now we're fighting right to the bitter end because we think we can actually win this. I mean, there is the Conservatives are a little bit ahead, but there's that margin of error that puts us, it could work for us really well. And we still got 2 weeks to go, right? We just got our signs up yesterday. I was out, I think, till 9 o'clock last night, putting signs up in Boston Bar and down through the canyon and whatnot. So.
Right. And it is such, as you said, such an important election. Like you, I've always supported the Green Party.
Right.
not this year,
Right.
not because of that,
Right,
but it's because of, this is too important,
yeah,
right?
yes, we're like in the fight of our lives, basically,
Yeah.
so, to fight for the environment and all
Yeah.
those righteous things is really good, I mean, it's glorious, but if we don't have a right to even fight for anything, then we don't stand a chance at saving anything, so.
Right. I find it this year a little bit difficult because I have a lot of respect for Terry Westerby.
Right.
He's a friend
Yeah,
of mine,
right.
you know.
Yeah, and a great guy.
Yeah, but it's just, again, I have to vote for, like
Yeah.
you, I have to vote Liberal. Because I
Yeah.
think that's our better chance. One of the things that I find is that people are still not doing enough fact checking, because there's so much garbage put out,
Oh
right?
man, the conservatives are just terrible for the stuff that, I don't know where they get this stuff, they've learned from Trump.
Yeah.
That they can just say anything. They don't have to have any kind of sort of
Yeah.
basis for any truth behind it or anything. Just spew off, and you know what? And work for Trump. And
Yeah.
you got like 50%, of the American population that has grade 6 or less.
Yes.
Is voting for him. So
And now they're wondering what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
You elect a criminal, and then you wonder why he's behaving like one.
Yeah, and then he dumps the stock market, like six
Oh.
trillion dollars worth of stock off the stock market, and then he says, "Okay, everybody, go buy now." Sends out a signal, and then he has the audacity to stand in the West or whatever room it is in the White House and say, "Oh yeah, my buddy here, he just made $1 billion, and my friend here made 900 million. That's pretty good, hey?" Or
Yeah.
like he doesn't even understand how criminal he is. It's
And then he doesn't care about the people that no longer have a job.
no,
Right?
no.
That's the weirdest thing to me ever. You know what? Another thing that gets me about him is like, okay, he's gonna put these tariffs, but if you retaliate, oh, he doesn't like that, so now he's gonna up.
Yeah.
It's like.
And now, and China, like, he's trying to outsmart China. Like, the Chinese are a very intelligent
Yeah.
race of people. And you're not going to outsmart the Chinese. So, he puts all these ridiculous tariffs on China. And now if I want to get a new smartphone, it's going to cost me $2,500 or, like, gee, thanks a lot, Dad.
I see, yeah, I know we can't help but talk about the US. We cannot help it. And I feel so bad for the American people because I have relatives there, we have friends there, and we don't blame,
No.
like you, I'm sure none of us blame the average American person, right? We know it's not them. But these people that support Trump, like the politicians, the judges, the Senate, those people, I think are horrendous. They're worse than him, in my opinion.
Right.
Because he.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they put up with him, it's like, it's so easy, it would be so easy to argue against them. It's just like, well, that's just not true, or that's just not true, or that's just not true. You know what I mean? Like, how can you back something that's just not true? You know what I mean? Like, there's no sense to it anymore.
It's amazing why they're afraid of him. I mean, I don't get it. I know he threatens everybody.
Power, I guess. That's the only thing I can think of.
But a person doesn't have power unless you give it to them, right?
Yeah. And another thing is like, all these huge, rich corporations, like, why would you ever want to invest into a country that has like a lunatic that runs it? And you can never rely on any information that you get from. You can't rely on your markets there anymore. I mean, there's no way. He's going to drive the United States into like a third world economy because of the fact that nobody can trust. You can, not even Canada. We can't even have the same kind of relationship with them anymore.
Right.
We have to rebuild our military alliances, our economic alliances. I mean, it's going to be painful for a while. You know what I mean? And at least our prime minister, has got the sense to be able to go to other world leaders who also have, some sort of, could pass, some kind of educational equivalency test.
Yes,
And they come up with solutions. And all I hear from the conservatives is like axe attacks or, this or that, and they play on this carbon tax thing, and they can get rid of all the carbon tax and get rid of all the excise taxes on energy, whatever, and the price of gas will drop down to whatever. But within 2 or 3 months, because that'll increase the amount of people wanting to burn gas, the price will go right back up to where it was. And the only thing that we've accomplished is we've taken our share out of the profits out of the energy, you know what I mean, and giving it all back to the companies again. So, and it's just, nobody, if somebody comes up with a political party comes up with a good idea, it doesn't matter if it's a good idea or not. The other party has to say, "Oh no, that's terrible," especially the conservatives. They won't come up with an alternative. They'll just come up with some slang or some
bashing the other side. Yeah, so, I hate that. I really do hate that.
Well, it doesn't settle anything, or it doesn't. So like.
Well, to me, it's like, don't look at me. Look at them. They're the bad guys. Don't look at me, right? The one good thing, if you can say a good thing about what Trump is doing, is brought Canada together in a way that never did before, right?
Yeah.
With having tariffs between provinces, like that's, hopefully I know they're working on getting rid of that, right?
Yeah.
Because that's insane.
Yeah. Well, the most noticeable thing for me was the day after he started all this 51st state crap, that I went to the grocery store. And every aisle I walked down, people were talking about, is this Canadian? Yeah. I'm not going to buy that. Or, and you walked down another, they were talking about Trump. And you walked down another aisle and it was like, is this Canadian? And, it was like every person in the store was engaged in something that I've never seen that before. It's like, playing the political game all the time. You're always trying to get your points of view out, and nobody ever listens. But all of a sudden, like now, they're right on it. Like, it's incredible how much.
Yep, and I contact some of our Canadian businesses, like grocery stores and stuff like that. I said, look, I want to shop Canadian, but make it worth my while, like financially. Like a lot of people, I'm on a fixed income.
Right.
So if I'm going to go, if it's cheaper at Walmart or at Amazon, unfortunately, that's what I have to do.
Yeah.
But I want to shop Canadian.
Right.
And why can't it be the same price here? Like, why are we paying more money for stuff that's brought in no, wait a minute. Why are we paying less for stuff that's brought in than paying more for what's already here?
Well, a perfect example of that is you go buy a piece of ribeye steak from Alberta, right? Yes. And it's probably about $23, right? Yes. And if you buy one from New Zealand, the same size of steak is about $7. You know what I mean? That's why I can buy meat cheaper from New Zealand than I can from Alberta. Now, like, what's that all about? You know what I mean?
Exactly. What is that about? So how do we get Canadian businesses to get more?
Well, we have to become more competitive, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So we've been hanging off the skirt of the United States forever. So Trump is right about that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, but the trade deficit thing, that's just all whatever. But Canada should have more, we should be more self-sufficient than to rely on Big Brother all the time. It just doesn't make sense.
When did that all start? Where we got so entwined in our businesses in the US and it
was probably after the Second World War when the big boom started, right? And then we just wanted to produce and produce and produce. And then the Japanese were the big producers for a long time that rebuilt their country. And we just got hooked on that. We wanted cheap consumer goods. The whole North American economy, especially the US, is built on cheap consumer goods, right? Instead of manufacturing more like Ontario is. So that's a big problem in itself. But I mean, they can't settle that overnight. You can't like the auto industry. It's so intricated, between the United States and Canada that if push comes to shove, they'll have to shut it down. It'll take them a year or whatever to rebuild all the different manufacturing centers. It's going to take a long time. And in the meantime, they're losing all their market for their vehicles to other companies that are producing them instead. So, I mean, they're just beating themselves, you know, and they have such a perfect system between Canada and the United States. I mean, it's all on the border anyways, you know, you have these guys build this, they ship truckloads of those parts over there and then they manufacture them into the
Yeah.
car, you know, and it's all worked like clockwork or whatever. It's, I mean, to organize that again would be incredible.
One of the things I noticed again with Trump, and seems to me it's taken some Americans a long time to figure that out. Like, you know, he wants to be the complete ruler. He wants people that kowtow to him, right? And they keep saying, well, let's wait and see. Like, I've heard a lot of people, what do you mean? What are you waiting? It's happening. Like, what's to see? What's to wait for?
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's so obvious that I don't think he has any compassionate, you know, any compassion in him whatsoever. He kind of reminds me a bit of a psychopath.
Yes.
When he, you know, it's all about him. Nobody else. I mean, he can talk about other people, how great he is and all that sort of stuff. But in reality, it's all about him, you know, and it's his ego is more important than the world economy or you know, world peace or anything else. You know what I mean? Like, so it's.
I can hardly listen to him anymore. Like, at first I was one to.
Well, you know what he's gonna say as soon as he opens his mouth or whatever, it's just gonna be garbage or whatever coming. I mean, all those poor people on that aircraft that crashed into the Hudson River. And the first thing he does is he blames it on DEI, which is, you know, like those people, I guess they're not welcome to be smarter. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
total insanity. It really is total insanity. I just, again, I find it all really interesting. You know, we need, I think Canada needs the American people to fix their crap with him. I see the protests happening, and hopefully that'll keep.
I wish they'd fix the border so all those drugs would quit coming into Canada all the time. That's where all our drugs are coming, all from the United States, and he's blaming us.
For sure.
You
know,
know,
that's what he likes to do, right? Let's deflect it. And we're just another thing he says, talking about the tariffs and the trade wars. Canadians are the worst ones. They're so mean, they're so bad. I'm thinking, you set up that trade deal to begin with.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, it's his trade deal.
But who did that?
When he signed it, it was the best trade deal ever. And then he forgot he signed it. It was like the worst trade deal ever. So, you know.
And again, people are not fact checking like this. Like you say, some of those Americans, I don't want to say, you know, lower, less income, less education, whatever like that. And they only watch whatever they watch, like whatever Fox TV or whatever it is, right? There's this guy, I don't know if he's American or Canadian, and he'll question people, and he'll say, like, so-and-so did this, some bad thing to a woman, how do you feel about it? Oh, that's terrible. Oh, sorry, I meant it was Trump that did it. That person will make excuses for it. But it was worse, it was really bad when it was somebody else, but suddenly, because it's somebody they support.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand how a convicted felon with 30 convictions or whatever is even allowed to run for any office. You know, like I think in Canada you have to pass, you know, get an RCMP clearance and all that. You know, check your record, and if you don't get, you know, if you got busted for smoking pot 10 years ago, you're probably not going to be able to run or do anything. You know what I mean? Like,
I have to get a criminal check just to volunteer for certain organizations. You know, right? And that's just as a volunteer. So, like, I don't know what's going on there. I know we're all off the track, but listen, this is all part of what we're going through, right?
Well, absolutely, it's universal. Like everything is going to be affected. You know,
for sure. And like, the whole important point is get out and vote, right? Oh,
absolutely, we got to be, not only that, we have to be. Whoever wins the election, we all got to get behind him, whether it's liberal, conservative, NDP, or whoever. You know, we all got to drop our boxing gloves and just get together and work this out, or what, you know, because, you know, we're at war, basically. You know, there's no guns yet, but, you know, the megalomaniac, you know, you can't rule anything out, you know, so.
And when it was another thing too, though, that people they're not even talking about is like, where is it? Is Canada, like what the U.S. needs Canada for is it in Yukon and Northwest Territories? Like, because we have forces there? Whatever, check, you know, for Russians or whatever it is that's coming in there.
The Arctic.
The Arctic, the Arctic. Of course, he likes Russia, so that doesn't take. Well, it doesn't like Russia. He likes Putin. Or is it Putin got something on
Yeah,
him?
He's mad at Putin right now because Putin's not doing everything exactly what he's telling him to do. He told Putin to quit fighting and Putin won't, you know what I mean? So he's mad now.
Yeah, because he was sure that Putin would listen to him,
Yeah.
right?
Oh my God, this is,
So you can't vote for somebody that thinks that way, even if you're Canadian, they'll check your facts. I mean, don't believe this stuff like Facebook. I can put anything on Facebook. Well,
Yeah.
now I'm being fact checked by Facebook.
right.
Okay. And I'm wondering, if I'm sharing something that's, they're fast checking me on that, well, wait a minute, what did you do to that person who posted it in the beginning? You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
right? But it's hard because I don't always remember to do that, check the facts.
Well, you know what, and sometimes if you're in like writing a political argument or an opinion or whatever, there's not going to be any fact involved. There's going to be the person's opinion,
Sure.
right? But you should state that this is your opinion and this isn't fact, right?
Yeah.
No, if I was king, this is what I would do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Instead of, the king says, this is what we, So, people get lost because it's the education thing too. Like nobody knows how to write anymore. Everybody's like this on their phones. Like nobody had to learn how to, actually write and, learn about verbs, adverbs, like,
Yeah, it's pathetic.
you read some of the stuff and you go like, my goodness, you can't even like does spelled, DOSE, stuff like that, or,
I'm not saying anything about spelling because I'm a bad speller. I like spell check, but still,
Yeah.
sometimes it wants to jump ahead because it doesn't know what I'm talking about. I'm so bad.
Well, chances are if you're misspelling a word, you might not even know what it really means either.
Yeah, that's true too, yeah. So the election is at the 28th, which is just 2 weeks from now,
Yeah,
right? And then get out there and vote.
Yes.
So when's I can't remember when the advance voting is.
I'm not sure when the advance,
I can check that out.
advance polls are, but you can actually vote right now if you go to the Elections Canada office.
Right, okay.
And I think the universities as well
Oh,
have campus voting with Elections Canada has an office in the universities
Oh,
as well.
okay, yeah.
So you can vote there too, but you can vote like, as soon as, once they announce there's an election, you can always go to Elections Canada office and vote.
right, or and just Google and find out where you can go. Like I did the mail-in.
Right,
Even though I was applied to work the elections, but then I thought their hours are so long.
right.
I worked the last three years, then I think last time it was like 17 hours, and that's like the whole, that's a long time for.
Right, yeah, for sure.
As we get older, so I
Yeah.
have to pass, which is unfortunate, but it was a good thing, and I know they were scrambling for people to work the election, and for the advance voting, it's even worse, because you have to work the 4 days straight.
Right.
You can't work one
Yeah,
day
yeah,
or 2 day, and I don't know why that is.
It's really late today. I'm not gonna be able to make it till.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And the person that interviewed me for getting the, working the election, she said one time they were there till 1 a.m.
Right,
because there's certain issues that they have to resolve. Well, listen, like I'm 77 years old, well, soon, next month. It's really tough. I can't do that anymore as much as I wanted to, So it's just as important to get up there and support whatever candidate, you feel is going to do the best job I have to say something. We can't think right now of Chilliwack. We have to think Canada.
right. Absolutely, yeah.
That's what's most
Yeah.
important. Canada
Yeah.
first, and then we can worry about, whatever Chilliwack. So hopefully whoever we get in Chilliwack, I'm sure we'll do a good job for Chilliwack itself. But we need to focus on the party that the prime minister.
Yes,
That's what we need to focus
we
on
need a
more than
leader.
anything.
we need a real leader, an adult in the room, and not somebody that just spews slogans or, somebody that actually has a plan and is not afraid to talk about it.
Right, and says, we're not dealing with you because then until you smarten up, rather than.
Yeah, I was really impressed the way he went to France and the UK first, and then they kind of got their heads together about I think it was like $8.53 trillion in bonds that the three of them hold against the United States, and that's when Donald Trump's quit calling us. Calling the prime minister governor and referring to us as 51st state was after they got back and had a little discussion about the bonds that they're.
Right.
And I think China holds the balance of the bonds or most of them anyway. So, he's putting tariffs on the people that hold all his credit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if they start dumping his credit, like even now, I think bond yields are paying more than interest. Right?
Right.
So that's kind of weird, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because bonds are what is backs the debt, you know
Right,
what I mean? So
exactly,
if you're
yeah.
getting more money for what's backing the debt than what the debt is, then there's,
Yeah,
people are gonna start dumping.
absolutely.
and-
And another thing, people have mentioned this before, who goes after their allies? You know, like that's the whole thing at the very beginning that had no logic whatsoever.
No,
So that's why you think, we know he has put no tariffs on Russia. None at all.
Right.
So like, what does that tell everybody right then
he
and
doesn't,
there?
he has no idea what he's doing.
But he's a traitor.
Yeah, but you can't even give him, he doesn't even have that much of intelligence to be a traitor.
Yeah.
He just absolutely doesn't have any idea what he's doing. You can tell by the way he's doing it. It's like like some kid in grade 6 or 7 gets this great idea how to change the world economy by charging everybody a whole bunch of money for all the stuff they come in, and he just thinks we'll be rich in no time, right? And that's his logic.
Right, yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yes,
So
yeah.
he has no idea what he's doing.
Yeah.
And what he does, he hires a bunch of people that are even dumber than
My
him
God.
all around him, right? So there's no argument,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know,
So you've been on TV, well, you're really good at taking care of the finances.
the
or
emperor really
whatever.
doesn't have any clothes, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, it's a really bad situation. I mean, I laugh at it because, I just put my faith in God. I mean, what else can I do?
You can't help it at
Yeah.
this point, right?
Yeah,
Because it was getting so depressing.
Yeah.
There was
yeah.
a time when I was just feeling scared
Oh,
and
well,
depressed.
look, I quit the party that I loved
Yeah,
dearly for like 10 years or whatever, and worked tirelessly for, because this is more important.
Yeah, absolutely. It is more important. So that's what we're gonna leave it
Yeah.
there. This is an important election, people. Don't say you don't know who, don't say, like I hear this, people say that, we don't trust any of the people running, politicians. You can't make a vote, because if you don't vote for one person, another party's gonna get in, somebody you maybe not like more,
Yeah.
I mean, that's happened in the past, where you vote for somebody that you like, think the worst, the least of the bad guys sort of idea. But if that's your thinking, it is. But I'm just gonna say, I can't tell you who to vote for. I just know that you gotta get out there and vote. And that's what I'm doing. I'm voting
Yeah.
Liberal. I haven't voiced it very much, but I am voting Liberal, and I just hate to hurt my friends, right? Sorry,
Yeah.
Terry, I admire you very
Yeah.
much.
And Selena, I'm sorry too.
Yeah, yes, exactly, Selena,
Yeah.
these are good people,
Oh,
and
they're
they do really well.
awesome, awesome
For the
people.
community, for Chilliwack,
Yeah,
Anyway, so that's our ranting.
that's what it is.
All right, so thank you everybody very much for watching the show. I really hope you continue to do so. Take care, everybody, and peace out. All right, say goodbye, Arthur.
See you.